All right, all right. We're going to have one we haven't had in a while. The G.W.A.I. And we're going to kind of make some connections and end up in some places you may not think. But if you watch through the series, you understand I talk about the hydrogen, the LHC, Large Hadron Collider. They're also building the Future Circular Collider, an even bigger one than the Large Hadron Collider. Okay, Large Hadron Collider is in blue. They're going to try and build the Future Circular Collider, okay, which will be even larger. And they're smashing particles or whatever it is they're doing up, down there, opening portals and all this kinds of shit. Dark matter. And how a lot of this in the series basically is describing how pretty much all of our concepts of technology are based off of demonic thoughts, and these things lead and leak into our world. It's basically just communication with demons, and computers are demon boxes. It's pretty much kind of what it goes through. And how also we're told about particle acceleration and all this kinds of stuff, but that's a cover. It's a cover for what's actually going on. Now they're also building the worldwide LHC computing grid, and as you watch through the series, you also know that I'm saying a lot of sites in many cities and countries around the world are actually particle accelerators, and they're tied to a worldwide grid that's running a worldwide artificial intelligence system that they're going to connect everything in the world onto eventually. And this system will eventually run the entire world, all right? It deals with grid computing and whatnot. A lot of interesting stuff here, super deep, super intense, and you could go on for hours and hours and hours, but we're not going to do that, okay? Read this in your own time. But they're basically building a huge grid system computer that is connecting the world, and particle accelerators and synchrotrons all tie into this, and they're basically creating some sort of hive mind worldwide super massive optical neural quantum computing system that will eventually encompass all the systems in the world, and everyone will have to connect to the system. It's basically the beast, okay? Interestingly enough, the CERN is the headquarters for the Large Hadron Collider, and is also the creator, or the creation point, or wherever, the headquarters, the home of the World Wide Web, which is literally what I'm saying. It's literally a World Wide Web. Everything is connected. Now, where it gets interesting is we also talk about Bell Laboratories, okay? Bell Laboratories and how they're tied into with the Large Hadron Collider and CERN and all of this stuff, and telecommunications and all of this stuff all ties together, and they already have a worldwide system in place, okay? But it's not necessarily connected completely, and there's not necessarily any one person controlling the whole thing. This will happen eventually, and the whole system will be ran and by one person and basically overtake the entire world. And they'll want you to connect to the system, and they're putting all the parts in play, okay? Bell Labs is now owned by Nokia, okay? Nokia is from Finland, a telecommunications company from Finland, okay? Now, what's interesting is, okay, there's lots of contracts. All of this is done through contracts with government. There's another government contractor, Casey International, all right, which is dealing a lot with telecommunications and all sorts of stuff. And as you begin to dig through this stuff, they're into a lot of secret and top secret kind of things, dealing with CERN, dealing with Bell Labs, dealing with Nokia. Okay, they have languages, SimScript, where they're basically running artificial languages and running simulations, and basically we already live in a simulation because everything is tied to the World Wide Web, and the World Wide Web is basically just an entire language built off of simulations. As you begin to read, it just gets so weird, guys. I can't even begin to fathom how bizarre all of this is. Okay, it's basically a simulation language, and it was developed in 1962. Okay, for the Rand Corporation. Remember, I talk a lot about the Rand Corporation, the CIA and everything. IBM, okay, ties into all of this. Now, where Bell Labs kind of ties into this is that they were also part of a group known as Lucent. Okay, Lucent. Lucent was a multinational communications company and equipment company. Okay, they AT&T deals a lot with them. Western Electric. They formed Alcatel-Lucent. Okay, and Alcatel-Lucent was absorbed by Nokia. Okay, Lucent Technologies, the entire symbol comes from the Ouroboros, okay, the snake swallowing its own tail. Lucent means light-bearing in Latin. The name was applied in 1996, okay, at the time of the split from AT&T. The same linguistic root also gives Lucifer the light bearer, okay? And they base a lot of their technologies on satanic themes, okay? They literally Lucifer, and right, and all of their programming and computational stuff deals with Satanism, all right? Inferno operating system, we'll look at that in a bit. Charon, Limbo, Styx, Dis, all of this comes from the Divine Comedy, Dante's Inferno, okay? The logo is the Innovation Ring, or Zen Buddhism, the Eternal Truth, the Ouroboros, the snake holding the tail in his mouth, okay? All these people are into like devil worshipping and satanic thoughts and themes, and it literally builds our entire technologies, and we'll get to it even further in a bit. Now, right, so they had Lucent, Alcatel, and Bell Labs is heavily into this, and Nokia is heavily into this, and all of these people are working with CERN, and they're developing all the telecommunication systems and all of this for a World Wide Web. Everything is based off of, the words Lucifer and the devil and all of this stuff. Everything is occultic symbology. And you would never think this about these telecommunications companies, but they're so huge, and they're all tied in with these occultic themes, and they're building all of our technologies and putting everything on a World Wide Web. Limbo, the programming language, okay? Limbo. They also have Inferno, the operating system, okay, developed by Lucent Technologies and Bell Labs, MIT. All right, we talk about MIT. Inferno means hell, okay? They also have product ciphers, okay? A lot of these companies get into ciphers and cryptology, cryptography, all of this, okay? And they use lots of ciphers and different languages and algorithms and all of this, and we've mentioned this before. IBM has the Lucifer cipher, okay, which is block ciphers in a form of encryption used for electronic banking, okay? Do you understand all of this? They're going to tie a system. What is the W.O. patent, W020666 or something like that, by Bill Gates, where it's basically describing a quantum dot digital technology that's going to be underneath the skin, and it's going to be tied to a cryptocurrency system, okay? All of the banking, everything will be put in a worldwide system, literally just satanic, okay? Simula and, all these simulated languages that they use, okay, all of this stuff. And it gets into like Algol 60, which is another algorithmic language. Notice the name Algol 60, okay, because we've been over this before. Algol, the etymology for Algol literally means the demon, okay? Algol, this is where we get computer language, okay? This is where we get the computer language, a contraction of algorithmic language, algorithm. Algorithms are literally the language of demons, okay? The rhythm of demons. And rhythm, okay? A rhyme, a meter, a measure, an agreement, all right? End words of sounds, metrical lines, a rhyme, an opening poem, a verse, okay? The rhyme, the language of demons is algorithms, and all these systems are built on algorithms. Now, where this gets even weirder is Lucis Trust, okay? Lucis Trust, and we're going to get back to them in a bit, is a very wealthy organization with very high-reaching, reach, okay? And it goes further than you think, okay? So these organizations are all working together, and they're all trying to build technologies to incorporate the world onto one system. Lucis Trust was founded by Alice Bailey. We're going to get to her in a second, okay? It's literally, she started a company called Lucifer Publishing Company, all right? And its headquarters in New York, London, and Geneva, Switzerland. Lucis Trust Limited in Switzerland, blah, 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 all right? They also have a World Goodwill Center, but they're like a philosophy center, okay? Alice Bailey started Theosophy, okay, or had a Theosophical Center. She wrote and read a lot of Madame Blavatsky, get to her in a second, where basically she's talking about the age of Aquarius and a new world order and everything being tied together and all of this, okay? But she literally wrote books titled Lucifer. She started magazines titled, she's part of the Lucis Trust. All right, they have Lucent, Alcatel, Lucent. Everything is just demonic, guys. Everything is demonic. I don't know what just happened here. Everything is demonic. She was part of the Theosophical Society, all right, that Helena Blavatsky started, all right, that's in California outside of Hollywood. They're all in part of these religious, weird-ass fucking groups and societies where they just worship the devil and get into, like, Eastern mysticism and all this stuff. And all these people are very influential with technology. Okay? It's so strange and bizarre. And where it gets crazy is that all of this is tying to a worldwide system with some of our largest technologies. Helena Blavatsky was a Ukrainian who studied a lot of just esoteric and satanic, occultic stuff, okay? ISIS and, Hermeticism and secret societies. There was a guy in London who studied a lot of her work. His name was Aleister Crowley. Look at the symbolism, look at her eyes. She's fucking nuts, okay? You're looking at like demonic possession. And she started the Theosophical Society. A lot of people in Hollywood, a lot of people are into this stuff, okay? But where it gets interesting with Lucis Trust is that they're literally supporting the United Nations, and the United Nations is going off of thoughts and concepts from this group, which is literally based off of Satan. It's so strange, guys. And just keep that in mind with the United Nations and the World Economic Forum and all the things we're looking at through the series. A giant worldwide web being tied together that's going to run the world. Okay? Guys, it's huge. All right.